I gave birth to 2 of those.
We went outside, playground, put the fence around.
Look at you.
And he just decided to go in the fence like that.
There we go.
I'm alive today. I can hear you. Good. I'm going to tell you to put on this center space just a little bit. Go around this space. Get more in there. Get more in there. I have with Matt. Yeah, he sent me 1 second on that.
I don't like
So he said he's gonna
because
send
like
it to
they
you.
come off so easily. It's like, or they like rub onto the rest of
You weren't as bad as you had.
Looks dumb.
You were.
I've been wearing this for approximately 5 seconds and I look like a clown.
I mean, yeah, I knew the stuff in general, but I didn't know much about sandals.
Right, and then you combine that with your wedding.
Yeah.
Trying to
That is true. The other night, this is the one I wore the other night, I could not get it on. I like used her makeup and I was scrubbing super hard on my lunch and it hurt.
I want to see you, and then you're ready for that moment with those kids. Go with
You want to?
Did he take you to his off-kilter?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he totally awesome. He was like, that's not what I'm saying. And then I immediately responded with, you're right. But then I was like, no, you're not right. Why did I say you're right? I just said, like, wait, God.
That's you will find teachers who have a lot of classroom experience will immediately come back to that question without even, it is just habit. Because we know kids pushing us a little bit, it's just kind of poke your butt. It's everywhere. So,
Honestly though.
and then you're offsetting him with
I should have responded to the question, not.
That's not good.
I guess.
Yeah.
terrible time of this class period as well.
The last 10 minutes,
Yeah.
everybody's like, okay, we're gonna go to lunch.
Exactly.
Notable.
Like,
Well, that was just the first thing I saw.
Yeah, I don't care. I want to eat food.
Anyway, so he's the
You
king.
did just fine.
And then
I want to see the video so that I can act. Like, I think the worst experience is going to watch a video.
Always. I guarantee it.
But you'll see the only thing that was mad about was that
I mean, you guys are where me and Kelsey were standing, he was off over here.
She's fire.
He answered questions very politely, very respectfully, very nicely, and was writing us to take those opportunities to really follow up with them as well. He was on the right track. But did you see what he did right after he answered the question? He put his computer down and started because in his head, he's on his part. He's the teacher, and now I'm moving on.
Haley.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I'm realizing after replaying it really times is that I have no idea what the students are doing.
Well, that's because
I was
Abby
you don't see that the only student I can even recall is that one kid who threw me
there were
off.
5 hours, I think.
And like
I
after
don't know why I'm just like
the whole thing,
reciting.
I'm shutting
When
down.
I would just pull up on like
Like when
As soon as my attention.
like when I was asked, what were these girls doing over here?
Now do you understand? I told that story about the guy here.
You just don't know. You just feel like I have to get this.
You don't have your peripherals made yet.
It's a juggling act. It's a juggling act.
Just fine.
Did you reply
I did do what I thought I was going to do, which was cry immediately afterwards.
Do you know why that? That's a biological response though, not an emotional response.
No, I know exactly. I'm like, I'm not sad. I'm very frustrated.
You're frustrated, you're relieved it's over, you're also upset it's over, and it didn't go the way I had pictured in my head, it went the way I had pictured in my head. So you did just fine. And I got called out by the grade school teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And she yelled at me. She did yell at me. But she did it in front of all her little kiddos playing on the stuff, and they all looked at me like that. I was like, this evil person. That's okay. Life is good. Good morning. If you look around, you're going to notice that you have quite a few classmates who are not in attendance.
Are they dead?
Not dead, because I have heard from most of them. We've got some in the placements, right? Some that had to go out to Elton and those places. We also had quite a bit of sickness going around, so take care of yourselves. It is happening. Strep is going around rampant. Don't forget that. That's bad. Strep will turn into lots of different things. So life is not good. Must take care of yourselves, right? Take care of yourselves because that's key. You all overwork and you know you overwork, and then pretty soon it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're sniffling and how that goes. Been there, done that. But we're going to continue on a little bit, and then we're going to get into our curriculum groups real quick. You're going to get your classes for those curriculum groups so that you can start planning a little bit towards what you're going to be teaching them, okay? We are recording, so if you don't like to be on video, your teachers, I'd say get over it. If there's something you don't want yourself on video for, I can blur your faces, you know, if you're witness protection program or something. It'll just go on D2L, but, you know, there's people who aren't here, so they wanted to videotape it, and that's not a big deal, right? All right, so you all were supposed to go look for evidence of, to see if you saw any diversity not occurring or biasness occurring. When did anybody find out? How many of you were hoping I'd go too far and it was like really, oh, there we go, cool. Anybody see anything? Go ahead.
One of the things I noticed in Elkton, in that classroom, in the, I think it's one of the 8th graders, he's the only kid in there that speaks Spanish, and nobody else knows how to talk to him, and Jeff had said, I have not heard that boy speak one word.
Yeah, he heard no from him at one point, one day, and I said, is he opening up other ways? Because you can tell if students don't speak, they will start to, and he said he's getting a little more eye contact from him right now, which is really good. But yeah, I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you have a diverse classroom where you have students that won't, and I can't say not cooperate because that's not a fair assessment, right? But there's something going on there, right? Anybody see anything else? Yeah, how do the kids interact with him? I've never asked Jeff that.
There's one girl who Jeff has said that she's like a sharp cat, and she sits next to him and they're like buddies and they're in the closet together and they just Google Translate everything back and forth, literally just looking at computers and going back and forth. And
Is that a good thing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's not saying anything. She doesn't know any Spanish. He the limited English he might know, he's probably not comfortable speaking. I tried to talk to him because he's reading a book called Esperanza Rising.
It's a great
Which
story.
is a book that I've read, and he's reading it in Spanish. And I was like, I know this book. Let me talk to you in my really bad Spanish. And Spanish teacher's not.
I do really good Spanglish. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've offended people in my lifetime. Spanglish. Yeah.
That's good that we can have like a little connection.
Yeah.
Like, to let them know, like, hey, I sort of know, so maybe if
Or that you're
you
trying.
have, do you think?
I always feel like I'm
It's
offending them.
It's
I
No.
feel like in that
love it.
situation it'd be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's terrible Spanish, then
Yeah.
they feel better about their terrible English.
Yeah.
Like you have that connection.
I do cerveza por favor pretty well.
Yeah.
I have never a use for it because everybody I ever order beer from speaks English. So, but in Banya.
Okay, but I'm just saying, Banya's a pretty
It is.
Or
It is.
servicio, because sometimes we say
But again,
Banya.
Banya you
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
place, right? All right. Did anybody else see anything else? Anything you can share? Nothing? Are you telling me all of your professors on campus are pretty good at this? You aren't?
No, I have a class that's 5 girls and 1 boy. And all my classes, I'm not diverse. They're all either all boys and 2 girls or
5 girls and 1 boy though? Is it a math course?
math.
That's actually shocking. Yeah, because math used to be dominated by men. A lot. Yay women. It's a good thing to do. All right. So I think what we left the other day with was culture really matters. I mean, you have to take it into consideration. You have to make accommodations for it. You can't just put those blinders on and say it's not really there. But again, it's that overt stuff, right? We talked a little bit in 420 yesterday about the fact that you can't stick all the African Americans together in a group consistently all the time, and all the white people together in a group all the time in every situation, because that's obvious, right? You have to be aware of some of the language that you use. You have to be aware of some of the things that are occurring in the classroom amongst the other students. I taught in small school. You know, we always use it as an example. How would they treat somebody if they came in with a lot of diversity? How would they treat that person? All the kids always said, oh, that'd be okay, that'd be cool, that'd be neat. We had a French guy came in, and the girls all swooned over him, the guys all hated him. And they treated him exactly like they had the stereotype of a French guy, right? He was. I mean, he was that swarthy, he could smooth the ladies pretty well. But again, those stereotypes can't lead the way we teach the classroom. But that does matter. And you have to plan for it. And the situations you guys get in your curriculum units, you're going to have some diversity in your classroom. All right? So I want to show you a really quick video here. Who doesn't take their life lessons from Homer?
Who stole my shirt? Who stole my shirt?
I washed it.
Oh, thank you, Marge. Pink! Marge, I can't wear a pink shirt to work. Everybody wears white shirts. I'm not popular enough to be different.
No, Homer, don't panic. You have plenty of white shirts.
Oh, gimme. Oh, no, pink! 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 It's all over, Marge. It's all over.
How this could have happened?
Ah, my lucky red hat. Clean as a whistle.
You did that to me!
Well, please, no one's going to notice if you wear a pink shirt to work.
Wait a minute. Go back. Zoom in. Why is that man in pink?
Oh, that's Homer Simpson, sir. He's one of your boobs from Sector 7G.
Simpson, eh? Well, judging by his outlandish attire, he's some sort of free-thinking anarchist.
Oh, all security, sir.
Excellent. Yes, these color monitors have already paid for themselves.
Hey, Homer! We saved your donut!
It has pink frosting.
Hey, wait a minute. Just because I'm wearing a pink shirt, it doesn't mean I'm some kind of a pink donut eater. Although it is tempting.
Drop that donut.
Let's go, Pinky.
You don't understand. My son just threw his red hat in with the white laundry.
Spare me the tiresome antics of the Simpson family. Take him away.
You know, Mr. Burns, his body cavity search revealed nothing, and we must have x-rayed him 100 times. Maybe he's telling the truth.
Or perhaps you two are in cahoots. Smithers, I seem to recall you had a penchant for bell-bottom trousers back in '79.
Sir, that was my costume from the plant production of HMS in the Fort.
No, yes, of course. Your spirited hornpipe stole the shows, I recall. Now, Doctor, what should we do about our freewheeling fop over here?
Well, Monty, it used to be that establishing a patient's sanity took months. That's all changed thanks to the Marvin Monroe take-home personality test. 20 simple questions that will determine just how crazy or sugar someone is.
Print name? Oh. Honey, do me a favor, fill out this form.
Homer, this is an intimate psychological profile. I can't fill this out for you.
All right. I'll get Lisa to do it. Lisa, you like homework. Could you fill out this form for me?
Well, all right. If you listen to the poem I just wrote.
No! Okay.
Meditations on Turning 8 by Lisa Simpson. I had a cat named Snowball. She died. Mom said she was sleeping. She lied. Why was my cat dead? Couldn't that Chrysler hit me instead? I had a hamster named Snuffy. He died.
No deal.
Dad, maybe you should do this.
Don, it's no different than the time I let you vote for me. Remember that absentee ballot?
Oh, yeah. Do you hear voices?
Yes, I'm hearing one right now while I'm trying to watch TV.
Yes. Are you quick to anger?
Bart, shut up or I'll shut you up.
Yes. Do you wet your pants? Well, even the best of us has an occasional accident.
Which, you know, The Simpsons, obviously, they're satire, and they take the extremes of everything that occur, but you're still going to have those students in the classroom who are going to push that button a little bit with the other students. Because we all have those perceptions of what is, I should have turned this so that they could see it. You can watch it on the thingy, on PowerPoint, there you go. That occur, right? Whether it's a kid who's wearing a pink shirt, or the girl that comes into class, or the boy who comes into class with like really purple hair, or you're going to have the one who has the tattoo across the face. All of those things are making for diverse kids, making for diverse things, and you have to be aware of it in the classroom. Don't point it out. You know, you can't always say, okay, so the tattoo guy answered this one. Not a cool situation, but you have to be aware of the circumstances that are going around in the classroom. So, easy enough. Questions on this? All right. I want you to think about these. I'll learn from this. How's that sound? There. How many of you know the answers to those things? How many of you have a pretty good idea? Now I want you to put yourself in the mind of that middle school student. How many of them know the answer to those things? Very, very small percentage. And these are the things that as teachers we're trying to get them to understand about themselves. That's not to say we're going to have this kumbaya class period where everybody's going to, try to figure out who they are in the scheme of life. But you have to always keep these kinds of questions in mind. Do these students in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, do they actually know why they're doing what they're doing? And if they don't, what's your responsibility in your role as their educator? You have to make the assumption that most of them don't know yet, don't know what's going on, don't really have a solid, firm foundation of what's going on. So these are the big four that you're going to have to deal with. Family life. It is not beaver cleavers, moms at home wearing a dress and pearls, making a cake when the kids walk through the door anymore. You have blended families. You have families who are blended because they're all divorced from each other, but they're all living in the same house. You have moms raising kids. You have dads raising kids. You have so many different things. Not to mention the traditions that go along with those things, right? We had to change the night of prom when I was still in Armour. We had to change the night of prom because we had a group who their kids couldn't be out after Saturday after 10 o'clock because that was their church, that was their religion, that they couldn't do that. So we changed prom from Saturday night to Friday night so those kids could be involved. Those are the kinds of things that you need to keep in mind. Those are the beliefs. Each of your students are going to come in with that. If I ran my class according to my Christian beliefs, and I have a whole bunch of kids in class who aren't Christian, I'm immediately segregating them, right? Geography. Where do they live? How do they live? There's a great number of students in very large towns who are living in cars, on the streets, in shelters, or they're living with grandma. Those kinds of things. And you have to keep those things in mind as well. And experiences. You know, everybody has always traveled to Mount Rushmore to see it. You can't make that assumption anymore. You can't make the assumption that everybody has seen Big Ben, even on a picture. You can't assume that everybody has internet at home. You can't assume everybody has all of these things. And then, especially with the experiences, especially with economics, school's expensive. School's really expensive that first week. You have pictures, you have clothes, you have supplies, you have all of those things. As teachers, you should have backups of all those things, which is why when they talk about how teachers spend so much money on their stuff, that does not mean that you go buy every kid a computer because they might not have one. But you're going to have a couple extra tablets. You're going to have some pencils, those kinds of things. When we were working in one of the reservation schools, the treat for the kids was pencils. We could have given them all the candy in the world they wanted. They didn't want it. They wanted pencils, which took me completely by surprise. It's a 98-cent pencil. Who knew, right? But you have to keep these things in mind. That's what adds to the diversity in your classroom. Dun, 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 dun. This is the only thing you can do is treat people exactly like human beings, plan to teach them as human beings, not as the kid with purple hair. And appreciate that uniqueness of each person. Everybody has their own personality, and if you give them an opportunity to show you what that personality is, they're going to appreciate you. That goes back to that picture that I had up here a couple weeks ago. Every kid wants to know that they're special today. Every kid wants to know that they're the favorite for you today. Success. These are the things that you can do. These are not going to be those things that are going to be the cookie cutter right thing to do. The biggest one for here, the reward approved and appropriate behavior, that is really cool. If you have a student who is consistently doing things incorrectly, for 2 weeks, don't say anything about what they've done wrong, and only tell them the things that they've done right. You, yesterday, what'd you focus on when you laughed? She taught yesterday in Elton, right? Ashley did. What'd you focus on?
What did I focus on?
Yeah.
Trying to get like near all the students when I was teaching.
Yeah. What was the very first thing you told us when we asked you how it went?
I think you guys said it went terrible.
It went terrible, and I feel like crap. Here's the thing with that. It wasn't terrible, and she didn't have a reason to. But in her head, what she was doing wasn't where she wanted it to be. Your students are in that same situation. You're stretching their limits. You're stretching their boundaries. Give them the opportunity to feel good about what they've done, rather than letting them leave focusing on what they've done incorrectly. All right? The last one is really tough. Teach students the correct procedures for every function in the class. I'm going to nutshell this down. God bless you. I'm going to redneck this thing. God bless you again. I'm going to redneck this down for you here, okay? Make sure that your students know how to handle situations. Make sure your students know how to handle one of their classmates talking to another classmate inappropriately. Make sure your students have those skills. That's hard, because where do we all come from? When we're frustrated, where do we come from? We come from that place of emotion rather than our brain, right? That's a tough one, and make sure that you do that, all right? All right. Expect them all to grow. They will. They're not going to grow in the manner that you necessarily want them to, but they're all going to grow. Something good is going to happen in their lifetime in your classroom. Something. Slim got to know out of a student that hasn't talked for 3 years. If that's the only thing that happens this year, he's going to be really, really disappointed. But I'm going to have to remind him, you got to know out of a kid who hasn't talked for 3 years. Find out where they're at and go from there. If I all expect that you should be able to communicate with our Spanish speakers, right? Okay, they're going to run class next time, and they're going to do it all in Spanish, and we're going to assume that all of you can understand them. Not cool, is it? Although they probably felt that way sometimes in their Spanish classes. And interest them. That's where their culture can come into the classroom. Make sure that they are engaged in what it is that you are doing. And incorporate their cultures in it. Don't be afraid of that, but again, don't point it out. We talked yesterday about Taco Day. I saw an old El Paso commercial this morning where the taco is speaking. It's, you know, old El Paso, you can buy the kits and stuff to make tacos and stuff for. The little taco is speaking in a Spanish accent. Cool? Not cool. Not cool today. I mean, it would have been okay. I can't believe it's still on the air, to be honest with you. I can't believe somebody's really not really preoccupied. All right. So how tough is this? How scared are you of this diversity that's going to happen in your classroom? Whether it's gender or racial or whatnot. How many of you have fears of that? Think you can handle it? You won't know until? All right. I'm going to go back here. Got something to write on? Or a computer or a phone? Have you done KWL charts before? Yes? Awesome. All right, so if you have not done a KWL chart before, KWL charts are a really good way of gauging where your students are when you start. This is what I know. This is where my curiosity is. And then at the end, you can do another formative assessment to say, this is now what I know, right? So I want you very quickly to do the first two. I want to write down what you know about creating a lesson. Now, you are all teachers. You are all almost juniors and seniors, right? I don't want a paper here, right? I know you could all write me 12 pages on what you think you know about creating a lesson. Keep it pretty brief. Tell me what you know about creating a lesson. And then tell me what you want to know, those things that you just don't get yet. What do you know? What do you want to know? Just real quick, give you 5 minutes. Is that enough time? I love this one. Just do a lot of comics. It's only bad if it happens in church. And it did happen one day in church. The old guy didn't know what was going on. That's really, it's hilarious. You just know, you know.
And it was the Cheers.
All right, that worked. All right, I love online stopwatch because it gives you a lot of different things. So you can put a chess clock up there if you want to. You can do you can do a big one. It gives the students lots of different options to see how things are going. This one right here will literally, it goes off at the end, right? There's even a So this is a kind of cool one. If you know what an egg timer is, So this is kind of a cool place when you want to put something up. I love putting up time clocks because I'm terrible at it. I was that teacher who said you have 5 minutes, and then 2.5 minutes later I'm a little bored waiting for you, so I would be like, okay, time's done. So the kids would always, yell at me for that. So I just always consistently try to use an online timer of some sort so that they know too, plus then they could plan a little bit. But that's onlinestopwatch.com. It's kind of a cool one. So what do we know? Just give me some ideas here. I'm going to take these from you in some way, shape, or form or other. So if you can give them to me as a sheet of paper, that's fine. If you can take a picture and email it to me, that's fine too. So what do we know? What do we know? Standards. What else? How many of you know your standards? Yeah, awesome. What'd you say? Good. What else?
Always have backups.
Always have backups. Good. What else do we know?
Need a plan for anything.
Plan for anything. Can you do that? What else do we know? Need to have goals. Goals, objectives. How much time? The one thing I know about lesson planning is it's never going to be what I planned. That's my reality there. So what do we want to know? What don't we know?
I wrote why plan if it never seems to work out.
That's actually a well-planned plan if they don't work out. Believe it or not. What else do we want to know?
I said how much is too much.
Ah.
I'm really bad at that.
How to incorporate thoughts and ideas into your lessons without getting thrown off.
That is a tough one. It is. Have anything else?
Who will be looking at my lesson plans? That's okay.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little known secret here about lesson planning. I've taught for 22 years. I've never turned a lesson plan into anybody. Teachers are finding, principals don't take them as much anymore. Back in the good old days, they used to take them all the time. And the good old days is before I started teaching. They're for the teachers more than anything else. Parents love to know if you have a lesson plan. Administrators only really want to know if you have a lesson plan if you're not going to be there. And then they want to know if you plan. All right, let's work that a little bit. All right, so go ahead and get into your groups. And if you don't know who your group is, I'll put those back up here again for you. Because some of you, I think, were gone the day that we got into your groups. These people right here. Yeah, I was going to say, some people may not be here. You're just going to work without them, and that's okay too. So just go ahead and find yourself a location. See this figure? There we go.
You see that there? We're coming to you. You are coming to me today. Okay, that was a very bold choice.
There you go.
Oh, we have our whole group. We got the choice.
Bum, 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 bum. I know. What's that? Oh, yeah. Alright. Alright, are we good? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have you draw for your class, your grade. Okay? So, craft. Come on up and choose a card. Anybody here?
Or, this group?
Are you craft?
No, we're
No,
crap.
craft has to go first. Craft has
We're
to
back
go
here.
first. Welcome.
Hold on.
There you go.
Don't be on the table.
Awesome. The Giggleby Squad. Literally just Sheldon. Yeah, I know it. Sheldon, you get to choose. Whoa. How'd you like today? Katie. Whoa. All right. Tangela Marty.
I think that's the best name.
Awesome. Las
Yeah, that's us.
Sacapuntas. How's that for you?
Which one should I choose?
No.
Let's do it.
It was like.
All right. Megady Alexor.
This guy.
And the Muse. You are alone today. There you go. So whatever you have on your card is the grade level you are dealing with.
Oh.
So go ahead and hold your card up so everybody can see it. All right. Write that down so you don't forget it. All right. And I'm going to put this up because this is in content as well. But this is the makeup of your class. And we'll show you all of them here. And this is in content. You don't have to write this down. All right. You have 43 students, 6th graders. 18 male, 20 females. You have 2 African American males, 10 white males, 3 Native American males, and 2 Hispanic males, and 1 Asian male. For the females, you have 14 white, 5 African American, 3 Asian who are not ELL, and 4 Native Americans. Check my numbers, make sure I didn't add things wrong. All right, I'm just going to die now. You have tables that fit 6 people at each table, which is very similar to this, probably a little wider, could be something similar to this, right? 2 ELL students who are Spanish native speakers. 1 ELL who is Hmong, primarily spoken at home, but his student is not a native speaker. Anybody know why I chose the Hmong group? In South Dakota, they're huge right now. Huron, a good percentage of their school district is. 4 have a specified IEP, primarily reading. Their modifications that are assessments need to be read aloud and extra time needs to be given on homework. 2 have a specified 504. Who knows what that is? Is that new to you? 504s allow for modifications for the student without the formality of an IEP. That student has ADHD and they are on medication. Okay? 3 females read a grade level below, 5 males read a grade level below, and the average salary of your students' households is $47,000. 7th grade, you're not going to see a lot of change. Oh, there we go. We should finish this. 9 out of the 43 live in a single-parent household. 11 out of 43 live between 2 blended households. 3 out of the 43 know of only 1 parent. And 20 out of 43 live in a 2-parent household. You have no textbooks available to you. There's no funding for a textbook. However, each student does have their own computer. You have a projector, but it is not a smart board. Everybody cool so far? All right, 7th grade, very similar. What you're going to see, because these are the same kids, now they're in 7th grade, right? You might see some change here, okay? 8th grade, still 43, they're hanging on. Again, might see some changes here. Freshmen, you're now down to 38, so you've lost 5, okay? Again, the makeup is going to change just a little bit, and this makeup is going to change a lot. If you'll also notice, the average salary of your students has dropped by $3,000. Questions so far? Okay, so the thought here is that your 6th graders eventually become those 7th graders. You're all dealing with the same set of students, primarily. Okay, so let's assume that the 6th graders become the 7th graders. 7th graders, that's what you're working with. 8th graders were once 6th graders and 7th graders, and then you have the freshmen. All right, why would they have dropped in number freshman year? You can't drop out until you're 18. They moved. That's the biggest thing. Freshman year, a lot of students will move. Anybody know why students will move? Lots of reasons.
Different school.
Different school. Why would they go to a different school?
They didn't like the, I was going to one school.
Different opportunities. Different sports opportunities. Parents all of a sudden are no longer together. One parent now has custody where the other parent may not have. Those kinds of things are all going on there. First thing you need to do is look at this, and I'll put this up here, okay? What's missing that you need to know in order to create for these students? What's missing? What pieces of information do you as a group still need to be able to identify in order to teach this diverse group of middle school students effectively? What's missing? And you can talk to your group about that. You can join somebody. If you're alone, join somebody. Okay? What are you missing? What?
Yeah.
True. What'd you say? What was that word? What we're trying to teach. What are you teaching?
I don't know.
What do you teach? Yeah, but you teach music. What are you teaching? What are you teaching? What are you teaching? There you go. You don't know the content of what you're teaching yet.
Yeah.
But you know what you're teaching.
Okay.
So we're just
like
given
given something.
Again, just dealing, you're each going to teach your content area, right?
Okay.
But just dealing with the dynamics of
So
the
we're like
class.
teachers in the school?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
So
Did
we're
that,
like,
did that fall on everybody? Did they miss that part? You are teachers of a middle school group in an actual school. So you are teaching your content area. You just don't know what content you're teaching yet. So what do you need to know? And think about this. Think about those things right now that we have talked about so far. The diversity of the classroom. We have talked about the developmental necessities of these age groups. What pieces of information do you now need to know for your specific group in order to teach them effectively? Because remember, we teach, we don't teach content. We have to teach that student because they're going to learn something. How are you going to make sure they learn something?
That's why I just at some point that like you could talk to previous teachers and be like, this is how, like I had trouble with these students, this is what helped. Yeah. Sort of a thing. So it's nice to have that communication with. Or even like maybe checking boards of learning, so it's hard to just to compare and like see where they're at when it comes to a student. But you might have to just assess like what they're like first week or so when they're in your class. But yeah. Which you could do both.
If you find out information about them previously? What are you running the risk of doing?
Putting them in a box, pretty much.
I'm not saying you don't need to know that stuff.
Yeah.
But you just need to be aware, right?
Coming up with some things.
I feel like
What
it would,
else?
I feel like it would help to know. So it's gonna be different from like East Coast to West Coast. Or like
It's just like climate and stuff like that.
How long are we in the classroom? Do they have like year-round school?
District is like for
Oh,
being new affordable things, like we don't know how much like that has an influence. That's I know. It's hard because like you want to be specific, but you get more specific. You're like, what? Yeah.
They don't really give me any specifics on what students excel at. I mean, all they talk about is that they don't really, you know, pinpoint what they need to improve on, where they're strong. You don't really get the basis on that.
I thought that would be kind of nice to talk with like right. It's better like a student profile. Because that's the thing where like that's what we can be in.
Still like that result. You should have access to them.
It
is very Yeah. Paid off.
I mean, like, this is just one classroom of 43 students.
Yeah.
So, a typical school, like, middle school, like 6th grade, how many classes are
That is the indicator that you know that you have two
there?
are
Time, so,
There's ELL doesn't necessarily mean that they don't.
it's a,
correct.
is that just the whole level, or is that just one classroom? It says one classroom.
I think that there's more.
So,
All right, very quickly, just share a couple of ideas here. We're gonna get back together on Tuesday and pick this back up where we're at. What are some of the questions that are coming to your head? Go ahead, speak up.
What are their grades?
What are their grades? What do you mean? Like whether or not they're an A student or a B student?
see, I think,
Why do you need to know their grades?
So we know what areas they struggle in most.
And your grades, you think, will tell you that?
Not always.
Not always? We'll talk about that. What else do you think you need to know?
how big is the actual school?
How big is the actual school? Good question.
This is just one classroom of 43 students. That's a lot of kids in one classroom.
It is.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Are all of these things just about like with the numbers? I don't know how to ask. So like, could are the ELL students in with the people who are reading a grade level below, or are they like each individual
Okay.
student?
Good. Good. What else do you need to know? I like what you guys said. I like how that you guys came up with that here. Say that aloud.
Their name.
Their names. You know their names? Do you have a roster? No. What else might you know? Need to know.
How they prefer to identify themselves, whether it's a nickname or
Oh, okay.
different
It's like four different
pronouns
male,
or
female. Yeah. Okay. I went somewhere else when you asked that question. Yeah.
I mean that's what that is.
Good. What else? There's lots. I'll throw one out at you, and then you have to think about this over the weekend, right? Think about it. You don't have to do a lot of work with this. I want to know if I have a para in the classroom. A para. Somebody who's going to be assisting me in this, specifically somebody maybe who's ELL, or somebody who's IEP, those kinds of things, who's SPED,
Yeah.
right? Do I have somebody else in the classroom with me? 43 students, 4 on an IEP, 2 who don't speak, 1 who, you know, those are pretty big things that I have to accommodate in my classroom. Is there somebody else that's going to be in there? Right? Okay, this is in content, so you can refer to it, but I want you to think about those things that you don't know. Okay? Leave your KWLs. If you did it digitally, just send it to me. If you did it, you can't tear it out, take a picture and send me the picture. Alright? I'll take that, you can just leave that on the desk, take the cards, life is good, and have a nice weekend. Thank you. Wow. Okay, great, did you get 6? Awesome.
I got my part here too, so that's.
I think 6th grade would be fun to teach. I've only taught them once. Sorry. Most of mine have been 7th grade. Thank you. Yeah.